Now guys, in this video, 5 tips to get stronger. If your goal is getting stronger, listen till the end. I'll give you the best 5 tips that you need to implement, small changes that will help you get stronger fast. All right, number 1, prioritize the compound lifts. You got to make sure that the main focus of your plan is the compound lifts. All right, your squats, your deadlifts, your bench press, your overhead press, your barbell rows, the dips, pull-ups. Those exercises, they work many muscles at the same time, and they impact your central nervous system in a way that machine don't, and they'll help you get stronger. You want to understand your body works better as a whole. All right, so you want to get stronger on the exercises where you're moving your body as a whole, as opposed to just getting stronger on the triceps push down. You're not gonna go very far with that, but rather focus on getting stronger on those bench press, the overhead press, the squats, and so on and so forth. And then your isolation movement will get stronger. This is a mistake I see a lot of people maxing out on this lateral raise machine, or maxing out on the pec deck fly. That's not really where you want to put most of your focus if your goal is getting stronger. All right, so that's for tip number 1. Now, moving on, tip number 2, your rep range. You got to make sure that you're working in a low rep range, and you don't want to go for very high reps. If you want to get stronger, obviously you want to go heavy weights. So heavy weights means you want to lower the rep range, lower the sets. So instead of doing sets of 12, 15, 20, focus mostly on sets of max, I would say 8, and play around between 3, 5, and 8. You don't want to do a lot of PRs. A lot of people would go for 1 rep max. The problem with that is, yes, it's going to help you get stronger, but the risk of injury is just so high that it's not really worth it. I'd rather do sets of 3, sets of 4, sets of 5, but knowing that I'm not maxing out on a 1 rep max, the risk of injury is lower, and you're still getting a lot of strength gain. All right, so that was tip number 2. Tip number 3, your training split cannot be the same as a bodybuilder training split. And I'll explain myself. Now I'm doing more of a bodybuilding training split. A lot of times that now my weaknesses, let's say, I'm doing a lot of back, lats, hamstring, shoulders. Well, the training split that I'm doing, it's not necessarily a push-pull legs, but I'm mixing a lot of muscles that I want to grow. So I'm doing, let's say, back and chest. It's something that if your goal is getting stronger, you don't want to do that because it's too big muscle groups. So you want to isolate. And you know what? Let's start over. Training split. You don't want to do a training split like a bodybuilder, like the pro split, the bro split, sorry, or a push-pull legs or whatever, but you want to see your split as a movement day. So one day you'll be doing a bench press, one day you'll be doing a squat, one day you'll be doing a barbell row and deadlifts. You know what I mean? One day you'll focus on overhead press. I used to train with a very, very strong strongman athlete. He was a professional, and I would ask him, what are we training today? And I would expect him to say chest and triceps, but his answer would be overhead press, or his answer would be deadlift, or his answer would be bench press. So the main focus would be one movement where he's putting all his eggs in that basket of that one movement and all the focus on it. And it makes sense. He would do 15 sets of bench press, 15 sets of that one big compound lift, and then finish off with some isolations. But the focus is really not on the isolation. The main time spent is on that one compound lift, on the squat. And he would start with it. So start with the squat and make sure that you're kind of taking your time, mastering the technique, working through all the tempos and the different rep range. So that's super important. So you don't want to see it as I'm doing chest and triceps, but rather I'm doing bench press and work on those movements, and this is what will give you the most strength gain. All right, so your training split has to be different. If your main focus is building muscle mass, skip the bro split and change it up for something that fits you better. Number 4 would be your nutrition. If you want to get stronger, you got to understand that you can't be in a deficit. You just can't. There's no way you'll get stronger if you're in a deficit, unless you're starting to lift and every little movement is a good impact on your body. But you got to make sure that if you're advanced or intermediate, you have to be in a surplus, and you got to make sure your nutrition is taken care of, and you know what you're doing in terms of nutrition. You're eating enough carbs to fuel those workouts. You're in a surplus. You're not skipping meals. You're prioritizing every aspect of your vitamins and minerals because you don't want to risk any injuries. You want to make sure that you're ready to go every single session. All right? Don't go work out on an empty stomach. If your goal is getting stronger, you're not gonna go far with that. You know what I mean? You gotta make sure you're ready to go and you're all fueled. So that's super important, guys. The nutrition aspect. I see a lot of people not doing it correctly because they want to get stronger, but they want to get leaner at the same time. Well, focus on one of those. Don't focus on getting stronger and leaner. That's why you see a lot of strength athletes. They're not the leanest, but they don't care because their goal is getting stronger. So focus on getting that strength up, and then eventually you can focus on getting leaner when it's time for it. All right. I even had a friend, this guy, he actually beat a lot of records in Canada here. Well, he used to eat during the workout, he used to eat gummy bears and things that are fast sugars just to keep replenishing that muscle glycogen. Just to tell you how much nutrition is important for those people, they'll just be eating all the time. Look at the strongman athletes, they're eating 10,000 calories a day, and that's a normal day for them. Because the heavier you are, the more mass you have, the more you're able to move mass. Not saying now just go binge on McDonald's. You gotta make sure that it's clean food, but don't starve yourself. That's what I'm saying. I'll give you a few more tips, all right? Because I have a lot more. So tip number 5 would be, don't neglect your recovery. When you're training for strength, it's so important that you never neglect your central nervous system fatigue. The central nervous system, basically, every time you're pushing the heavy weight and you're going for the low reps and you're training like a strongman, like a power lifter, you're doing a lot of compound lifts and you're pushing heavy weight, your central nervous system gets fatigued slowly, a lot more than doing reps. When you're training like a bodybuilder, your central nervous system don't get as much fatigued because you're not necessarily pushing those heavy weights on the squats and deadlifts, but rather you're most of the time sitting on a machine, right? But as a power lifter or as a strongman, you gotta make sure that you're not overstressing your central nervous system, because if you do, then everything we're doing will be counterproductive. You'll get burnt out, you'll fall into pretty much catabolism, you're stressing your body, your cortisol level will be so high just because you're not taking enough rest days. And that's what happened when a lot of people try to maximize every single day. They try to go for that PR every single week because you're stressing yourself. Imagine when just before getting on that bar and before doing that PR, you're looking at the 4 plates on the squat and you're like, oh my god, I don't know if I'm gonna do it. So this gets you nervous, and when you get nervous for a long time, you're just overstressing your body, and it's just gonna lead down to a spiral downward cycle, which is not beneficial for you. So make sure you're optimizing your recovery. If you're training for bodybuilding, you can get away with a lot more than training for powerlifting and strength in terms of recovery. All right, because now most of my workouts, I go to the gym and I pump some blood in there. That actually helps my nervous system. It helps me recover. It helps me. But when you go for the heavy weights and close to failure every single time, you're gonna get burnt out and fried. And next thing you know, you'll just feel super weak, super tired. You'll be getting injured and you won't feel as well. All right, so that's super important. Moving on. Another tip that I want to talk about. What was it? What was the last tip? I had a good tip. Take creatine. It's an important thing. Take creatine. Oh yeah, cycle your trainings. Yes, I just remembered. Cycle your trainings. So let's say your goal is getting stronger. You don't want to just be doing strength phases all the time. Even the best power lifters in the world, like Eddie Cohen also, he used to say that a lot of times he would cycle it and train like a bodybuilder for a long period of time, a hypertrophy phase, and then move on to a strength phase. Hypertrophy phase, strength phase. You don't want to just be doing strength phase all the time, but you want to play around with the cycles. And also one cycle you do a little bit lighter weight, more reps. Another cycle you'll do more powerlifting style and strength. So that's super important, just so also you don't get your body used to it and you keep progressing. And also training like a bodybuilder will help you in your powerlifting and strength journey. All right, don't think that machines are useless, because getting better, let's say I had a guy that he was doing a lot of bench and he wasn't able to progress on the bench, and then I'm like, well, maybe it's time that you do a bit more triceps push down, a bit more isolation like the cable flies, and just isolating a bit those muscles. And now his bench got a lot better, doing a bit more traps and shrugs and isolations. All right, so they're not always a bad thing. So that's pretty much it. Also, I would say never max out unless you're competing. Even Ed Cohen, he said that he would never do a PR unless he's in a competition. So you never want to do your max. Even that guy that I told you about, the strongest man I've trained with in my whole life, I've never seen him going to failure, exact failure. Because if you go to failure on one set, then you're overstressing your nervous system, and chances are you're not going to be pushing as much on the next set. So you got to make sure that you're You always keep a rep in the tank. That's important. Keep a rep in the tank every single set. Don't go to absolute failure, because then that's not the time to do it. Not in training. You can go to absolute failure in competition, but not in training. So that's it for this video, guys. Hopefully it helped, and I'll see you guys soon. Don't forget to like if you liked it. You can do super thanks. You can give me a donation if you want to. And that's it. Watch other of the videos. Ciao.